I don't use the word potential because potential seems way out there somewhere. We have competing intentions. I want to lose weight. I want the ice cream cone. Think big, even bigger. Start small, even smaller. You're not going to like this answer, and I'm looking at my tile because I don't like it either.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. I am super honored to have Tom Rosenak with us, founder of Diamond Mind Enterprises. With me, Tom helps leaders uncover their hidden potential and what he calls their acres of diamond. And I love that to build stronger relationships, improve their performance, improve their results, and lead with greater impact. Thank you for being here and thank you for joining, Tom.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. I'm super excited about this one because um, this is exactly what Tom helped me do. He helped me find my strengths and the areas I can improve in. So let's dive into how leaders can start polishing their diamonds. My question for you is, what is the first step people can take to find their hidden potential?
Well, I want to start with language because sometimes people say to me, that's just semantics. But as human beings, what else do we have but conversations, internal and external? And so I don't use the word potential because potential seems way out there somewhere. When I was a young professional, I was told I had unlimited potential. And then you get a cup of coffee and they say, that will be $1.60. That's how much inflation has changed since then. And they don't care what your potential is. So unlimited or not, here's a fact. 100% of us agree. We have untapped inner resources right now. Potential seems distant. It seems passive. So we have strengths, we have gifts, and we're underutilizing. So the first thing to do is to look at our resources. And the primary one is time. And then we have money. And then we have relationships. So we look and we say, how am I underutilizing my time, my relationships, whatever resources you have? Money is certainly one because we throw resources at the problem. We throw money at the problem. We throw people at the problem. We throw time at the problem. And what we want to do is we want to align our inner resources and our desires with our allocation of the resources we have. Some of them tangible, most of them not, until we leverage them.
This isn't the first time I'm blown away with your answer. What a beautiful way to say this. Super incredible. Um, and so do you have any tips on how they can leverage those resources better?
Yes, I do. And the first thing is to look at your hierarchy of intentions. You have a core intention that's at 100,000 feet, but you can only live at 100,000 feet. So when people say, think big, that's great. But what if I'm sitting here living small and every day I'm thinking big? There's no bridge there. And then next thing you know, in my case, 25 years went by. I was doing okay. I was making a living. And so first thing is get clear on your core intention. And then when you have sub-intentions, how do they align to the core intention? So it's constantly zooming in to the runway and zooming out to 100,000 feet. It can't be either or. We can't just live in imagination. Some of the new age stuff makes that a mistake. They're right. Dream it and you can do it. But if you don't do anything, just dreaming it, some people want to manifest out of thin air, but be doers of the work. What are you doing? How are you living? Someone says, I have great potential, and they're living not aligned to it. Feeding the potential isn't going to do it. So it is about alignment. It's messy business,
Amazing.
but it's doable. And this is a plug, very difficult to do without a coach. because we have competing intentions. I want to lose weight. I want the ice cream cone. This is natural. We are not monolithic. We have all kinds of desires. We're a body, but we're also a soul, and we're a heart, and we're a mind. Those things just don't work together some magical way. And the appetites always win because they're closest to the now. So the ice cream cone wins, but only 100% of the time until I feed a big.
Wow, what an incredible way to say this. And so they have to make sure that their inner values, inner intentions, core values align with their goals and what they want to achieve, and to really zoom in and then zoom out and then see what am I doing that doesn't align with that intention.
And then use principles of Kaizen, which is constant small. I love something you said in one of your videos. We have intensity, but not consistency. I love that you said that because it's so true. Because if I'm frustrated and I go, I got to do something about this, I'm going to tend to do, if I haven't gone to the gym in 3 years, I'm going to think I can do what I did when I was 25, and I can't. Is one push-up enough? Yeah, if you haven't done one in 30 years. It's easier to go from 1 to 2 and from 2 to 4 than it is to start with 10 when you haven't done any. Because if you start with 10, your system says, we're out of this push-up business. But you don't start with Kaizen. You start with feeding the big intention. And then you say, how can I take a step in this direction? And then hire you to say, how can I have some consistencies to this? Then what happens is expanding becomes easier. But we try and do it the other way. We try to start. So here's my truth statement. Think big, even bigger. Start small, even smaller, and keep moving. Don't stop because one push-up didn't get your health you wanted. That was so hard. I'm no healthier than I was yesterday when I didn't go to the gym. No. Wonder if I could do 2 tomorrow. Not yet, but I can do 1 again and go down deeper and push harder. And if you will consistently work, there comes a day where it seems like you grew like this. We just want that day to come sooner than it comes.
So beautiful. So beautiful. And so incredible, because if I were to advise my younger self just one thing, I would say go for consistency rather than intensity, because that used to be my cycle consistently. It's go all in and then burn out and then give up, and then go all in and then, don't do anything for, or not be able to do anything for a few days, sometimes weeks. So that is super amazing.
Well, and I got that from you. And the only thing I added to that, I'm agreeing with you, is I understand the emotions that lead us to do this often because we're trying to make up for lost time. We need to forgive lost time and start with the time we have, which is 168 hours this week, no matter which time management program you use. So how can I leverage them better from the strengths so that a few more of my diamonds are expressed in the world? But it's still going to remain dark to the outside world, the change, and it'll seem sudden. Oh, Tom, you've changed. It seems sudden, but it isn't sudden. It's gradual.
Absolutely, like a bamboo tree. Nothing happens for years, and then all of a
Roots
sudden,
go down. That's a wonderful analogy for it. The roots go down, and this little sucker doesn't look like much. But if the roots go up too
amazing.
quickly, then what happens is it can't stand. And we've done that. We've done things that are not sustainable. Everybody says, oh, that's great. It's like, well, yeah, but I spent all my resources on it. I don't have any more. There's no roots. The wind blows, down they go.
There we go. Wow. I'm just loving every part of this interview, just every minute, every moment. This is why I was so excited for this one, because every answer you provide is just so profound, so incredible. Because I look at, again, my journey, and then this is exactly what happened. Grew too fast and then wasn't able to sustain it because there's nothing left. There's no energy left, no time left. It's just all gone, and there's burnout and exhaustion. And so what would you advise people, to someone who is in that state, who is putting in time? How could they be more consistent? How could they be more patient with it and know that it is going to work out?
You're not going to like this answer. And I'm looking at my tile because I don't like it either. But it is tell the truth. We are delusional. and unaware. So there's 4 root causes when we could accomplish something that we don't. One is unaware. The other is unwilling. I'm not willing to give this up, or I'm not willing to do that. What this mail's telling me is great, but I don't have the time, whatever it is. Excusitis is the disease. So unaware, unwilling, not able. And that's where training, coaching, if you don't have the ability, practice, there's ways to get the ability. But if you start with the ability and you're unaware of your blind spots and you're unwilling to really do the work, I've gone to great seminars and felt wonderful and then realized Monday morning, I'm not going to do any of that stuff. So that's why when someone says, can you give me a motivational speech? I say, no, that's not what I want to do. Because motivation, inspiration is part of it. And I love to inspire people. But inspiration in itself doesn't change things. Motivation is very temporary. At the seminar, you feel I can do all things. And it's good. It lifts you up. But it's not going to give you the consistency. So I boiled it down to leadership is a practice. It includes inspiration. It includes motivation. It includes goal setting. It includes all of those things. What practice do you have to back it up? And so I could go to a scuba diving course and get an A in the course, and I could tell you how to scuba dive. But don't throw me in the water with the equipment. You haven't had any practice. You don't start, they start in a swimming pool, right? I tell you, I could impress you. Don't do this, but you could interview me on scuba diving, and I could do some research, and I could put forward that I'm an expert on scuba diving. Would never do that. That's dishonest. But it's, man, this guy knows his scuba diving. It's because I know how to study. But don't put me in the water with the tank. I don't know how to breathe. You got to practice. Leadership is a practice.
Yeah.
Which I'm not against learning how to do it. That's the first step. But by all means, get educated. But the word educate means eduke, which is to draw forth. Well, how does it get draw forth from cognitive? And it's practice. Show me another way, and I'll show you a different planet.
Amazing. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that doing is the best way to learn. Also, because the only way you can learn faster than anyone else is you just do it with the information that you have available. And yes, it's a lot more like throwing spaghetti at a wall sometimes, but it's still faster. I find that it's still faster than sitting down and just going through a lot of training, which is very, very essential again. But
you do it and you refine it. So sometimes people forget to refine it. They see the Nike thing, just do it. But the reality is I don't know how to do it. So maybe you read a book, but then you start your practice and you say, if I keep practicing this way, I'm going to be broke. So then you say, I wonder if there's another way to practice. I wonder who else knows how to do this. Is there anyone who's done this before? Because nobody knows how to do something they haven't done.
There we go.
Just think of the bicycle. Nobody knows how to do it till they've fallen a few times. And luckily they're kids and they don't get hurt when they fall. You know, learning to ride a bicycle as an adult is very difficult because when you fall, you can't get up so easily. But when you learn as a kid, you go, whoops, Dad, let's go. It isn't that you didn't read the book or you need another seminar. You need to get back on that thing and kind of wobble a little bit. I use physical analogies, but they work metaphysically as well.
There we go. Amazing. Amazing. And I can relate a lot with this because I learned to ride a bicycle as an adult and not as a child. So this is...
Okay, so you know it's harder for you, just like learning another language, you can still do it. But if you expose an infant or toddler to 6 languages, they don't know you're not supposed to learn 6. But if you start as an adult, you can still do it, but it's much harder because you think your language is whatever it is. It's doable. It's just a different process, whereas kids are like a sponge. Oh, language doesn't matter. They don't know that they're not supposed to learn.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. So it's a lot mindset than we imagine. And what's one mistake? Because people are usually unaware of their mistakes, as what I see is that they are not even aware of what mistake they are making. So what one mistake do you see in your practice that people are just unaware that they are making that mistake?
I would say closed-minded. We want this. Doesn't matter what this is. And marketers take advantage of this. We want this to be it. So the mistake we do, I ask this question in my coaching. What keeps recurring as an upset? In business and life, no matter how smart you are and good you are, you will have upsets. But it's the ones that are recurring, like a gerbil wheel, that gives us an idea that there's some perspective, some behavior, something that needs to shift in us, not out there. So the air conditioner goes out and you're hot for a day, that's just an upset. You get the guy in and he fixes it and you have air conditioning again. Your business will have those kinds of upsets, but that's not where the diamonds are. The diamonds are recurring upsets. And then I help team leads to say, well, we keep having the same meeting repeatedly. And you've probably heard it said, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results. I riff off of that. What's the definition of insanity? It's having the same conversation repeatedly and expecting different results. And we do it with ourselves, with our coworkers, with our boss, with our spouse, with our children, if we have any, with our neighbors. We need a new conversation. If you want to change, you need a new conversation. And I help people to look at, are their conversations resourceful, meaning bringing you to an end that you want, or are they dead end? And if they're dead end, we don't need guilt, we don't need shame, but we do need a new conversation. They're self first. Amazing. And also with others.
Amazing. So having a different conversation, having a new conversation, not just repeating the same patterns that we have been repeating for years, because and it's sometimes very difficult to just identify those conversations are even happening, and you have to become very self-aware.
We don't even think we're having a conversation. It's a good thing that habits exist, because if habits didn't exist, we only think of our bad habits. But if habits didn't exist, every day you'd have to get up and figure out how to brush your teeth, you'd have to figure so much stuff out. We don't need to change everything. But in the area you're stuck, your autopilot habits will bring you exactly where they've always brought you. And so certain habits bring you, I don't even know what habits you had before you showed up on the screen, but most of them got you here, right? So you don't need to analyze them all. But if you're an honest businessman, you will say, these habits are not bringing me where I need to go. So then before you get new habits, which aren't sustainable, which is why New Year's resolutions by now have failed, because you think willpower will get you there. You need to ask yourself, what are the contributing factors to the fact that I've neglected my self-care? And have a new conversation about your core intention in there and about the things that you do to get in your own way. And then you can start to build new habits. But we want to skip all that and go right to the new habits. And then that doesn't sustain. That's back to the push-up example. The kid said, well, I used to do 100 push-ups when I was 24. Well, you're 67. We suggest you not start there. Who cares what you did when you're 67? Then Tony Robbins says, you have unlimited potential. I can do 1,000. Yeah, but I don't have any bridges. Potential isn't helping me there.
This could easily be a 90-minute conversation, and I wouldn't be bored for one moment. But what I am getting, if I were to get one takeaway from this conversation, I would be radically honest with yourself. And then that's how you become aware, whether you are willing or unwilling. And you just become aware of those patterns, identify those patterns. But the first step is that you are radically honest to yourself about what's really going on with you.
And we resist that, but only 100% of us. There's an ancient scripture that says, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. But it doesn't say, know the truth and you're going to feel good all over. Whereas it says, take the pill and you'll feel good all over, but it won't set you free. And so we always resist telling the truth about where we are and where we really want to go. And people will say what's important to them. But over a period of time, if you look at the checkbook and the calendar, you'll know what's really important. So if you say business, family, God, country, whatever that is, how much did you invest of your inner resources on those things? You say, well, no, I was too busy with Netflix or gaming to do all of that. Well, so the truth is, it's not as important. And that's true of every value. The word value just means, what do you see important? What do you value in life? And the way you spend your resources, time and money, will tell you. And it has to be over a reasonable time, because if I'm on vacation, spending 80% of my time and revenue on entertainment is perfectly appropriate. But if that's true all year, and then I'm complaining I didn't earn enough, we don't start with hiring you. We start with having an inner look. Is it important enough that you'll make space for the good suggestions this meal gives? And if the answer is no, don't engage him yet. If the answer is yes, get help. Don't do it you're alone. But he can't have you do all that. And so if you spend whatever the money is and you don't make space for the suggestions he gives, that's on you, not on him. And if you really invest the time and it doesn't bring you forward, then he should give you a refund. But if you didn't do it with it, then you should charge yourself extra.
Absolutely. I remember one of my mentors used to say the clients who don't do that stuff should be charged more because they are not taking action, meaning it's not urgent enough, meaning they are just not
So
in
they're
that
wasting
position
their
right now.
money, and don't you stay a part of it. You can't judge that on the front end, but you can tell people that. I learned this about myself, which is because I just love workshops. I just love personal development stuff, and I've gained a lot of knowledge over time. But I have taken courses and I never would ask them for the money back. Whereas I'm not going to do all this stuff. And that's not their fault. So I put it in my treasure trove, and it might come later. So I'm still glad I took the course. I didn't waste my time. But if I'm expecting a result and I'm not doing anything differently than I did before the 2-day workshop, that's not on the presenter. Look in the mirror. I'm not willing is what that is. I'm able, but I'm not willing. Or something else. I got to binge Netflix. I don't have time for this. But then I'm still expecting the result. And that's why the motivational ones are not sustainable, because I got motivated in the moment. And that's good. That feels good. That's like a shot, like a little bit of non-pharmaceutical speed. But it isn't going to produce better relationships and results unless I take at least one nugget out of that workshop and practice something and examine my habits and be willing to shift. Then I can get roots and I can get leverage. And I said, boy, that was a great investment, that seminar. It jumpstarted.
Amazing. This reminds me of something I read a long time ago, which goes something like, success comes from doing something for an extraordinarily long period of time and not just 1 day, 2 days, a month, or even just a year. I'd love to ask you one question about that. And that would be, what do you think about the philosophy that you do just the visualization and just that?
We'll offer you this. We live in a world of gravity, friction, and mortality. So whatever your spiritual beliefs are, beyond this world is another world. Unless you believe that you're an existentialist and you think you get your 70 years or whatever, and then you just evaporate. I will say this, is we have to be successful, and I'll define success in a second. To be successful, we have to live in two worlds at the same time. The word lead means go before. And so vision is important. You think of someone like Walt Disney, a visionary. You imagine a world that doesn't exist yet. But imagine if Disney had flown over that swamp in Florida and imagined Disney World, but not done anything with it. That dream would have died with him. So yes, vision boarding, all of that, I'm a proponent, and it gives you energy beyond where you are. Just vision. I can't tell you how many people see a business come into the world and say, I thought of that 20 years ago. And say, yeah, you may have, but you didn't do anything with it. So we live in two worlds, and we don't want to, people ask this question, Are we human beings or human doing? Sometimes we feel like we're just doing tasks and we're not really being and living and we're just doing. And I answer that question, yes. If we're just doing and we're not being, that's dead end.
Right.
But we can't just sit there and say, yes, by all means, meditate in the morning. But what if I just meditate my whole life? What are you going to accomplish? So we need to have both achievement and connection. Connect to the source and step out courageously in the world of gravity, friction, and imperfection. In your visioning, it's perfection. Disney could vision the perfect park, but just envisioning it, it doesn't manifest without learning to navigate the bumpy runway. And so you always have execution and vision. Back to the think big, even bigger, and act small. My favorite definition, and I have probably 30 definitions of success, but my favorite one I got from the late, great Earl Nightingale, who said, success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. The ideal is always bigger and more glorious than the runway, but you're progressive. So you keep the vision perfect. You don't change it. It's kind of cliche. I don't know if ever said this or didn't, but that people have heard it. Michelangelo with the great David sculpture. He said, I had a picture and a block of marble, and I kept chipping away at everything that was not David until it was complete. So the vision, I'm all in favor of it. But some people in the new age world have skipped that whole step, and they say, you just dream it and it manifests. And what I say is, if you decide to bring that vision into the world, you have to do it through communication. And chiseling is a form of communication if you happen to be a craft. And so many, the great writers write thousands of words that never make light of day. Dickens started a famous thing. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. I guarantee you those weren't and that was old-fashioned quill on paper. He probably at 3 a.m. when he's writing all this stuff none of us ever read, that came to him and he said, this would make a great start to the book. And he cut and paste, literally back then, cut and paste, put it in the front of the book. But if he would have sat here and envisioned David Copperfield and say, I need a good first line, and the screen is blinking and he's waiting for some pithy first line to the book, those are the authors whose name we don't know.
So profound. So profound. So what you are saying is very balanced approach between doing and being, and that's gonna continue to lead to your vision, and not just doing and not just being. You have to find the balance. And if someone wants to learn more about your work, how can they do that?
So there's 3 ways, and I have a link tree I can give you that has all 3 of them. My name is spelled R-O-S as in Sam, E-N-A-K, Tom Rosenak. And you can find me at LinkedIn, and that will have the tree of other ways to get a hold of me. My website is digdiamondmind.com. And I suggest, even if you're not interested in talking to me, you go to the landing page and watch the Acres of Diamonds story, because that infuses everything I do. Diamond Mind is all about mining our inner diamonds, which we talked about in the first half of this conversation, and expressing them in the world. And we express it through this and through our doings. Whatever we do should be an expression of who we are. And with that, we talked about in the second half. And I also have a schedule link if anyone wants to have a 30-minute conversation on how I'm the author of The Momentum Game. And if they want to talk about how to get momentum on what matters most, they can have a 30-minute conversation at no cost, no obligation. It'll take the lid off your thinking and inspire your heart. And I'd love to listen.
That is incredible. And if anyone is interested in learning more about Tom's work, which I would highly, highly suggest you to do. It changed a lot of aspects of my life, and I'm pretty sure you will experience the same. Please check out the links. While he was mentioning it, it must be on the screen. If it's not on the screen, it's in the links. So please do that, and that's incredible. Any closing thoughts?
Yes, warning, a conversation with me may be dangerous to your stagnation. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much. Great interview. I'm energized.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us and sharing all your wisdom.
Good to see you. Thanks.